I've got a ton of friends that are do-it-yourselfers, and some of them are really good with a wrench, but they almost always make the same mistake that costs them hundreds of dollars and hours of wasted time, and we call it the parts cannon. What that means is if they have a problem with their car, they'll go to the parts store and try to find the most common solution to that problem. Maybe it's spark plugs or something else, and they'll buy that first, put it on the car, and see if that fixes the problem. I've got an auction car out there. It's got a misfire, and it's pretty bad. So what I'm going to try and do is show you how I can find this problem without putting parts on it. We're going to test it. So let's go out there, I'll show you the truck, and then we're going to find out what's wrong with this thing. But look at this beauty. I know she ain't much to look at now, but she only cost about 1,500 bucks at the auction. So the first thing I'm going to do right now is one of the easiest tests that don't require any equipment at all. And that's going to be the clear flood mode crank. So watch what I'm doing. I'm just going to depress the gas pedal all the way down to the floor, and then I'm going to crank it, and I'm just going to listen to it. So just doing that quick test, test number one, rules out any major engine issues, any low compression on certain cylinders. So we're not completely done there, but it was super quick, and at least we know we can keep moving on without worrying that we've got an engine to replace here. So let's get it into the shop and we'll do some more tests. Okay, that's the cold start. Sounds pretty good. Still got that check engine light. We're gonna scan it for codes and then see where to go next. This thing is a beast, 22 feet long. It's a 3/4 ton cat eye version like that. It's taking up the whole garage, but we've got a sneak peek for you. This is the newest scanner, not available yet. Haven't done a review, but this is gonna be part of it. So let's go ahead and plug this thing in and scan it for codes. We're doing a full system scan here, which takes a few minutes, but once we got to powertrain, we saw 3 major codes. A P0300, which is a random misfire code. That's the one that we're after. Also a knock sensor code that I should keep in the back of my mind, and an oxygen sensor code, but it's downstream, so it's not going to affect the engine performance. Okay, we've got a lot of codes in that thing, but the one I'm worried about the most right now is the misfire. Once we get that taken care of, we can worry about the other stuff later. And we are back in the cab now. We've got the scanner ready to go. We're going to find out which cylinders are misfiring by looking at the misfire counters while it's running, and still haven't touched a single part. We're getting cylinder 7 and cylinder 4, but 7 is really hitting. Got the flashing light. And cylinder 7, it counts all the way up and then it resets to 0. It's I don't remember what the max number is, but once it hits that max, it just resets. All right, so that's really good information. We haven't gotten dirty yet, but that's about to change. Let's go under the hood. I want to focus on cylinder 7, and we're going to run some tests out there. So our problem is happening at higher RPM, not at idle. So I want to rule out fuel delivery. We're going to look at the fuel injector, especially back here on number 7, to see how it's doing, and we're going to compare that to the other fuel injectors. We need some test equipment for that. Let's get it out. This is called an injector balance test. It's available through the PCM, and we use the scan tool to activate it. This is a fuel pressure gauge. We've got it hooked up in line to the fuel rail, and it comes through the hose up to the gauge, and as soon as we build pressure with the pump by pressing the OK button here, you'll see the pressure come right up. Oh, we've got to choose the injector, so let's go injector number 1 first. All right, it's priming the fuel system right now. Whoa, 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 whoa. All right, that's not supposed to happen. I've got gasoline everywhere. And focus, you can see, oh man, the hose right there was rubbed through. It looks like that probably happened in the box. Yeah, and gasoline got all over the scan tool here. It even fell on the floor, and well, it looks like it's still working. Got a new hose here. That's in the fuel rail. It's at 0 PSI. Let's go ahead and charge this thing up. And we'll try and do this one more time. All right, we've got the fuel pump priming now. It's holding pressure right about 54 PSI. We can go ahead and start the test right now. And it went down to 42 PSI. So I'm going to write that down to make sure I remember, because we're going to do this for all 8 cylinders. Here are the results for all 8 fuel injectors. It looks like they're finishing up their test within 1 psi of each other. So relatively speaking, they're good and we're not having a fuel issue. So let's go ahead and move on to ignition. We're going to move over to bank 1. That's the driver's side of the engine where you can see that mark is from the coil that was on cylinder 7. I moved that to cylinder number 5 and I want to start this thing up to see if the problem moves from 7 to cylinder 5, and that will indicate that we've got a bad coil. So we're kind of replacing parts, but we're using parts that we already have. Let's give that a shot. All right, just like before, you can see that the cylinder misfires are happening on 7 and 4, so no change. Yep, the problem didn't move. So next, I want to keep the coils where they are because there's no sense in switching them back. Now I want to look at spark plugs. So let's pull the spark plug out of cylinder 7 and out of, let's go with 1. I'm just going to pull it out of 1. Swap the 2 and see if the problem changes now. I'm not surprised to see this, but really we haven't changed anything yet. Cylinder 7 and cylinder 4 still giving us these misfires. So we have ruled out a ton of problems and we haven't spent any money on parts yet. I'm relatively clean still, but that's about to change because I think we need to go a little bit deeper. I'm going to remove the valve cover to see what it looks like under there, and I'm starting to suspect that maybe a valve spring could be broken and that might be the cause where the valve is hanging open just a little bit. Let's get in there and find out. I've got to remove all of these coil packs here and some of this wiring just to get to that valve cover. Plus, when I remove it, it could possibly destroy the gasket. So we might have to buy a part after doing this job, but I don't think we have a choice now. We have to go a little bit deeper. All right, I thought I'd bring you in for the big reveal. I'm gonna pull this off for the first time and I think we're gonna find our problem. If not, you know, I'll have egg on my face. Let's go. Okay. Well, I've had a good look around with the flashlight. All of these valve springs look good. None of the rocker arms are bent or held up. They're moving freely. So I've got one more test to do, and that involves an oscilloscope. I'm back probed into the connector on the PCM. Those are the crank and the cam sensor signal wires. We're going to graph that and see what it looks like while we crank the engine. According to GM, we're supposed to see 24 crank notches for every 1 cam notch. They should be about 0 to 12 volts depending on the battery voltage, and it's about what we've got right here. But the frequency on that crank signal looks a little bit off to me. I just don't like it. Okay, based on the scope capture, the crank sensor didn't look right, the frequency was off, so I decided that that's a problem. Might not be the problem, but it is a problem, so I picked up a GM genuine crank sensor. We're going to put that in today. Today is, I don't know, a week later or something like that. This thing has kind of been sitting. So I'm taking off the negative post because the crank sensor is behind the starter. So let me put that out of the way. No more voltage to the starter, so what I'm going to do is lift this thing up. I'll meet you down there. I'll show you what it looks like to replace that sensor, and we'll test it. All right, I found something. Let's go underneath here. I'll show you what I found. It is not what I expected, but also kind of makes a lot of sense. I haven't been under here yet, so I haven't seen this until just today. Look at that. You've got some crimp connect fittings that go right there behind the starter. So I'm going to pull out the starter, but what I think I'm going to see here is an aftermarket crank sensor. Man, visual inspection might have got this one. All right, got the starter out. It's pretty oily. Let me show you what it looks like under here. Okay, there we go. This is the source of that oil leak anyway. It's pretty bad. It's got a bad O-ring in there probably. Let's pull this crank sensor out. This harness looks it's got some schmoo melted on there. Maybe the starter got hot or something. Okay, here's the crank sensor I pulled out. I cleaned it up so you could see it. 32122 is printed on there. Let's compare that to the GM, genuine GM from the mainland. That's how you know, America. Here's a GM part number. Get her open. Gonna have to cut myself. Well, similar color. Okay, further inspection on the aftermarket sensor. Nothing is printed right there at the connector elbow. On the GM one, look at that. We've got that number, which just happens to correspond with the part number from GM. So it's another confirmation that this is a genuine part, and this is either aftermarket or some sort of bootleg copy. Not sure, but let's get this in here and see if it solves our problem. All right, starter is in, crank sensor is in. Not gonna lie, I'm a little bit nervous about this one. I'm gonna do this live on camera for you to see what it looks like when I first start her up after spending money on a part. Oh, got a little sparks there. And of course it's a GM side post battery, so they just have a bolt stuck in there. All right, I've got it tightened up. First start on this. Now we haven't relearned the crank yet. Let me grab a scanner and I'll start it up and then we'll see if we can do a crank relearn. All right, this is the new one. I don't know if the review video is going to be out before this or which way it's going to go, but this is the new Moo car. Let me plug this in, put that there. All right, I don't see any smoke from the battery or anything. That's good. I'm going to go ahead and get this ready to go, because I don't want it to run too much on a non-learned crank sensor. This thing, I've had it on for a week. I've had it on standby for a week. The battery, still 42%, not bad. If I run it with the screen on like all day long, it's like 8 hours. But it charges pretty fast. I'm trying to run down the battery so I can time the charging, you know, to make a better review on her. Okay, it's got a lot of lost COM codes, probably from taking the battery out. I don't remember where the key was. I thought it was turned off. Powertrain normal, let's get into there. We're gonna go to special functions on the powertrain. There it is, right at the bottom. Crankshaft position variation learn. All right, let's start this thing up. Sounds pretty good. All right, I've got the scanner hooked up here. We're going to look at misfire data for all 8 cylinders. Let's put some RPM on there. Now, if you remember from last time, we had a pretty smooth running engine at idle, but as soon as the RPMs came up, the engine was running rough and it started misfiring. That's when the misfire counter started going up and the check engine light started flashing. So that was a problem. And now let's see what we got. That's pretty good. We've got no check engine light, it's not flashing, and we've got zero misfires on the misfire counter. That is absolutely awesome. I am so happy about that. Check it out, it is running butter smooth. High five. That is a huge win. Not bad. I think this engine problem is fixed. This has plenty of more issues, but the main concern, the one where we couldn't drive this vehicle, it's done. We've got a smooth running, no misfire engine, and it's because of a crank sensor. So I hope that this was informative. I hope you learned something about diagnostics, and that is you can think your way through the problem and you can find the solution before you start buying any kind of parts at the parts store. Save your money, don't give it to them. And then once you do find the problem, get genuine parts. I don't care if it's a GM, Ford, Honda, any kind of sensors, oxygen sensors, crank sensors, all of that stuff are so critical. The only ones that are gonna work for you are OEM. You saw that the aftermarket looked almost identical to it, and the scope capture showed us that there actually was a pretty decent looking signal, but it wasn't decent enough to the computer. So to our eyes it was fine, to the computer it didn't like it at all. Now it's fixed. $80 part, no problem. Now I've got enough money that I can do some of this aesthetic stuff. I can get the headliner done, I can clean this thing up, solve some of the oil leaks, but man, this truck is good to go. I am so excited about that. So thanks for coming along with me on this diagnostic. I'm going to post more diagnostic stuff in the future. If it's helpful to you, let me know down in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.